Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Teachers Retirement System regular board meeting for November 18th, 2021. I'm going to start by calling the roll. John Adler.
I'm here.
Thomas Brown.
I'm here, Patricia.
Natalie Green-Giles.
I'm here.
David Kazansky.
Present.
Russell Buckley.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Deborah Penny.
I am here.
Susanna Vickers.
I'm here, thank you.
We have a quorum. So the next item on the agenda is an update on TRS operations, and Thad McTeague is going to give us that update.
Look at my office. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. A lot of paper today. Thank you. On October 29th, the governor enacted Chapter 525 of the laws of 2021, which makes TRS membership mandatory for paraprofessionals in certain educational titles. The law affects future hires as well as a few thousand paraprofessionals who are currently in those titles. TRS is working with the employers to start pension deductions soon for these members, and we plan to contact them by letter in December with information about TRS membership. TRS has updated individual limits for member contributions to the TDA program in 2022. The IRS recently announced that the general limit will be $20,500 next year, an increase of $1,000 over 2021. During November, TRS is also sending an email blast to non-contributing members to make them aware of the TDA program. And finally, for quarterly statements, nearly 190,000 members have been notified by email that their account statements for the third quarter of 2021 are available for viewing on the TRS website. In addition, account statements were mailed to approximately 1,400 TDA beneficiary participants.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Thad. Okay, next on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. And the first item on the Executive Director's report is the matter of the next meeting. And it has been suggested that the next regular meeting of the Teachers Retirement Board be held on the third Thursday of the month, December 16th, 2021. And next is a resolution, variable annuity program and qualified pension plan investment policy statements.
Please skip to the resolve.
Resolved that the board hereby adopts the annex revised restrictions on permissible investments and security litigation protocol, and be it further resolved that the annex restrictions on permissible investments and securities litigation protocol shall replace the existing appendix in the qualified pension plan and tax deferred annuity investment policy statements.
Thank you, Patricia. Do I hear a motion?
Tom Brown, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I hear a second?
Second. Sorry.
Oh, Mr.
You can have it,
Adler.
John.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution carries. Thank you.
Next is the resolution for the budget modifications for new projects.
Please skip to the resolve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approve a modification to the fiscal year 2022 budget to increase the agency budget in the amount of $922,950 to fund additional projects as listed in this resolution, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the Executive Director or her designee to expend monies out of such budget to fund necessary operations in accordance with the approved budget and governing law.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
David Kazansky, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Do I hear a second?
Susanna Vickers, second.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers. Any discussion?
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Adler?
yes, I posed a number of questions to Thad this afternoon, and I haven't received answers to those questions. You want me to read them into the record?
You received the answers to those
We did
questions.
send an email about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half. I don't think I got that email.
I saw it. I think it went to other board members as well.
Yeah, we distributed it to the board as we did the previous set of questions.
Wait, I'm saying you sent one an hour and a half in response to the second set of questions?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, I'm sorry, I did not receive such an email. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's-
John, check. It might be in your spam. You know how that happens sometimes.
Yeah, it was sent at 2:38 PM.
I did not receive, it's on my spam. And I didn't receive an email at 2:38 PM. Oh, 2:37 PM. Okay, I got it at 2:37 PM. Got buried. Okay, I'm sorry. Could we, I guess I haven't had a chance to review this. The reality is this was sent out late on Monday. I sent a email on Tuesday. I got a response yesterday. I reviewed that and sent out another response today, another set of questions today. And I guess an email was sent within the last hour that I have not had a chance to review. So I would respectfully request a chance to review it before the board is asked to act on a approximately $1 million budget modification. Is there a reason that it needs to be approved today?
What did you want to say?
Yeah, John, one thing though, I think when you said that you'd send something on Tuesday, I would say that any response I got from you, I responded within hours. So I don't know.
It's a very long, complicated budget request that is sent out 3 days before a board meeting. There's not really a ton of time. That's not a ton of time to consider budget. Typically, we have, a much longer time frame to. I'm not criticizing you, Thad, for the amount of time that you took to respond to the questions. I'm really just critical of getting a budget modification request, less than 72 hours before a board meeting.
I don't want to take away from the point you're making, John, but if I may, my point was that you said that you sent something on Tuesday and you didn't get a response till last night. What I'm saying is as soon as I got the email, we turned that response over within a couple of hours.
No, I didn't say that you didn't get it back till last night. I'm just saying there's been a whole back and forth, which I appreciate. I'm not criticizing Thad. I'm not criticizing you, Thad, on your responses to my questions.
Try to respond time.
Literally, I've been in meetings most of today. I see here that you got something at 2:37, which I did not see, as you could tell from my response, because I was in a meeting until 5 minutes ago. And so I'm now being asked to vote on a fairly complex, multifaceted budget modification for which I'm not prepared to vote for the whole thing because I haven't digested it. So I guess, we could break it up piece by piece. I don't have an issue with I didn't ask any questions about several pieces of it, but there are a couple of parts of it that I would like to be able to read your responses. If you want, I'll read it during this meeting and we could come back to it later in the meeting. But truthfully, right now, I don't feel like I have the information I need to cast a vote on this request.
I just wanted to, I'm just making the point, John, that this is a budget mod, not a full budget. And that's why, it doesn't go through the whole process that the full budget to run the agency goes through. It's just a modification for items that were not either known to us at the time or came up in the interim that we would like to have additional budget to deal with.
So what if we brought it up now? Can we speak about each part now? So at least, John, you would feel more comfortable and other members would feel comfortable too. I'm hesitant to hold it over because a lot of this has to do with the paraprofessionals that are going into the system, that have been placed into the system as of October 29th. And the longer we wait for the assistance to help them, the longer we're going to push it back. So for our members, I think it's best if we do this as soon as possible. So we have time. Why don't we go through it? And then this way, John, if you have any further questions, does that work?
That would be great. Thank you.
Let's do that.
John, your first question has.
So let me just pull it. So we're pulling up the 237.
Where you go?
I'm just gonna get the newest email.
Oh, so he's just wanting to get the newest email. Well, what's your first question, I think, had to do with
Why three? Why three as the number of positions required?
right. So what we did was we looked at the the call volumes that we have with our current paraprofessionals and the length of those calls. And the reality is that the paraprofessionals require a lot more hand-holding than our other members. Our call lengths with them are much longer, and whenever any communication goes back, we get most of our calls come from our paraprofessional community. We're going to be adding 4,000 new paraprofessionals according to what the DOE believes, as well as 2,000 per year. They hire about 2,000 paraprofessionals every year. So we also, I mean, just as an aside, when we did the Galeno, which added like 4,000 members, we did not increase our head count at all. We, the head count that we're permitted. Here we are asking to increase that head count by 3 positions. But that's for this paraprofessional group, in addition to the 4,000 Galeno people that are being added to the members that we support. So that's like about, 7,000 more people this year and 2,000 every year after that. So looking at our volumes, looking at the length of calls, we believe 2 additional call center and 1 additional member service representative is needed, because in addition to people coming into the walk-in center, we are now holding Zoom calls with members, and we're going to be holding a lot of workshops with these paraprofessionals, both in-house and through Zoom, in addition to when they request to have a consultation and they want to do it through Zoom, then we have to have staff who are able to do it. We can barely keep up with our requests from our existing members. So we did some analysis and thought that 3 was the right number.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that answer.
Okay.
And so I see that the annualized cost for the 3 is 135,000, but it does not include fringe. And
doesn't.
typically fringe is part of the PS budget, right?
But it's a separate line item, but I
Right.
guess that
No,
would.
I understand that, but if we're approving 3 additional heads, don't we have to approve salary plus fringe costs?
Well, so
So this is prorated to try to do that, because by the time we hired them, it was prorated to try to accomplish that. And not exactly.
You're saying the 90,000 that would be approved in this budget mod would include salary plus fringe for this fiscal year?
That's the goal. I'll go back and, it's a timing issue, so we may be, depending when we can hire these folks.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make that out. That
When we can hire these folks, yes. But in the future, to your other point, when we do future budget mods, we'll lay it out so that we show the OTPS.
okay. And so you're saying the 3 heads are added to the authorized head count. What's the current authorized head count for TRS?
I think
340.
395.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
They're discussing it.
It's 395, so it would go to 398.
And
We don't normally always fill all the open positions in a timely manner. So we have like 350 people currently, but our head count that we've been approved for is 395.
I guess my question on that is a question is an increase in headcount necessary if you currently have 45 vacancies?
Well, the vacancies that we have are from specific departments, which is not member services. So either we're having difficulty filling some head counts, some positions, excuse me, or I'm trying not to fill head counts if I think that once Aspen's in, remember, once Aspen was in, I was gonna like reassess our needs. But that's a few years down the road. So I don't know what the requirement is gonna be in the future, but so sometimes we delay bringing people on, we're bringing the temps in so that we don't have to hire people that will then have to let go because we won't have a need for them in the future. So there is, you know, there is the eventuality where we're probably gonna reduce our headcount needs, but right now, where we are sitting here, I don't know what that is, and so that's why we're adding to it, but I would say that probably in a few years, once Aspen is in and we can assess our true needs, it is my goal that those needs and that headcount go down.
Okay, so are you saying that right now, the 45, roughly 45 vacancies, they're not in member services. Member services, you have a full complement?
Yes, and temps. Because to handle the volumes of calls that we get and the consultations that we did.
Okay, thank you, understood.
May I just ask one follow-up question on that? Are you tracking wait time in your call center? Because that would be a helpful, I mean, obviously you have a benchmark that you want to minimize, but what are your wait times now?
More than we would like, more than our members would like.
No, for sure, but do you have that?
What's our average? We average about 20-minute wait time.
And your goal?
5
3
minutes.
minutes and 3 to 5 if we could. 3 to 5.
I didn't hear 3 to 5?
5.
Thanks.
And if I may, that doesn't even take into consideration. So all of those thousands of paras that will now be enrolled in the pension system, we've been telling them to kind of stand down. TRS is sending out a letter on December 13th that will start all of the calls. They're sending them a letter saying, congratulations, you're going to be a member. When we leave here, we have a paraprofessional meeting to explain to them the process. So once they get that letter, then there's going to be a lot of volume in the call center. And along with all of these paras, some of these paras have been paraprofessionals for several years. So they're going to have questions about prior service, because anyone who came into the system before October 29th, or anyone now up until, you know, the letters, they all have prior service. So that's going to take, and as Patricia explained, it takes a very patient person to answer a lot of the questions. So we appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I think that, you know, Thad had made the point in the documentation that TRS in its current budget is absorbing a lot of the costs with the work that we're doing with the letters and the deficit calculations.
Service calculations. So while you see those 3 heads, you know, because I think did do the analysis, there are certain costs that we are absorbing.
For instance, the benefit administration department, who has to calculate all of those deficits or calculate all those service purchases. We're not adding staff there. So we're absorbing that work within the benefit administration department and in the other areas within TRS. It's just the call center, because nothing frustrates our members more than long wait times. And you know, we have an abandoned, we have a long wait time, but we also look at our abandon rate when people get frustrated and hang up. So those are all things we take into consideration. And in order to be able to continue at the service levels that we have today, which we would even like to be better, we felt that these 3 positions in member services were going to be needed.
Have you lost staff in the call center or in any member services during COVID?
What was the question?
I lost more people to retirement. I really, at the end of the day, only have 1 person at TRS who went on leave without pay because of the mayor's mandate.
Yeah, that was basically my question. Thank you.
I do have 9 religious exemptions, but they are being they're coming in wearing masks at all times and having weekly COVID tests. So I only lost one person to COVID. I mean, the COVID mandate, but we've had a lot of retirements since that ERI didn't go through. People were waiting on that, and so we've seen a big number of retirements.
Any further questions? John, did you have?
Yeah, there's others. I'm just processing them. There were other questions that I had sent. I think that's all on the paraprofessionals, and I find the answers. You have answered my questions, and I find them satisfactory. I'm prepared to support that request. And now I'm just looking at the NCOA integration.
Yeah, so I can speak to that, John.
Thanks.
So today, our process I always say this to people, that you would think address maintenance would be an easy thing to do, but it's the worst thing that we do. It's the most difficult to keep our data up to date and fresh. I always use myself as an example. I moved and I never changed my address with the pension system. I didn't even think of it. But I did change it with the post office, right? I wanted my mail to get to me. So today what TRS does, we send out a large mailing, and hundreds and sometimes thousands of letters, depending on the group that we're mailing to, will come back with a yellow sticky return mail. We then have to then have somebody in our demographics unit manually go into the system and update the addresses. So with this NCO, I don't even know the acronym.
National Change of Address.
The National Change of Address system that our print vendor has told us they are a participant in. They are able to electronically send us, as soon as a person puts in a change of address, we can get an electronic feed on an ongoing basis, so that our addresses are up to date based on what the post office has been given from our members, so that the next time we do a mailing, we're not going to get hundreds or sometimes thousands of return mail, because we will have an up-to-date database of everybody's mailing address. So it's going to save money, because today, when we get that return mail, we paid for that stamp, it was returned, and now we have to mail it to the new address. So it's like a postage cost, there's staff cost, there's frustration on our member side, because we're delaying getting information to them that may have a deadline, and then they're very frustrated. So having this electronic feed that's going to constantly be updating our addresses and making sure that we're sending them to the correct address and we're not getting a lot of return mail, I think is a wash for the cost that it's going to be for us to procure this service from our print vendor. So the other thing was, you had asked, some of addresses are, sent to TDA participants, but we only capture one address in our system. We have one address for our member, and all members must be QPP participants before they can join the TDA. So the address is only stored once. So when we update the address, it's updated for both systems. The address is updated, and both the TDA and the QPP use that address. But you can't have a TDA without having a QPP.
Well, and let me just ask a follow-up on that. Don't we have BRRS participants that are in the variable A?
But we don't service them, BRRS does.
So they just get the account values, but there's no other contact between TRS and those BRRS members?
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. I just want to address this issue about what is and what isn't modernization.
Oh, okay. So modernization is a project to develop functionality in our new system called Aspen. When functionality like addresses and demographic data, which was put into production like 3 years ago, it's in production. It's no longer part of the project. It was developed and it was implemented, and it is now being used by the business in a production environment. So when we enhance or change that, it's not part of the modernization project anymore because that part of the project is over and it's actually updating or maintaining our production, the production system. So because of that, the cost is not a modernization cost because it's no name and address and demographics is no longer part of the development project. It's now in production. So,
And then, so could you contrast that or compare it for me with how the Galeno project is part of the modernization? Because I presume that the Galeno project also affects various functionalities that are already in production and not part of modernization.
well, but when we talked about that, that was because we had developed in the development. So we have these simultaneous phases going on, and we're not developing things sequentially. We're developing them simultaneously. So when we have Galeno, there are things that were developed in Aspen that have not gone into production yet. They're still waiting to go into production. We
Right.
haven't implemented them yet. So what happened with Galeno was a lot of the things that we had developed, but are waiting to go into production until that phase is ready to go in, had to be reprogrammed to incorporate Galeno rules and functions.
But none of, so you're saying nothing from the Galeno project hadn't affected any functionality that was already in production?
Yeah, because the only things that were in and are in production at this point, when we got the Galeno project approved, were, our infrastructure, our demographics, and our death benefits. So now we're on phase 5, which is retirement payroll and all of that functions. But we were not in production yet with phase 5 when we got the Galeno approved.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the answers.
Does anyone else have any questions? All right, then we're going to vote on the budget modifications for new projects. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, budget mods pass.
Next on the agenda is union contract increases for TRS employees.
Skip to the resolve, please.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Teachers Retirement System of the City of New York hereby approve a modification of the fiscal year 2022 budget by increasing such budget in the amount of $95,000 to cover OSA contractual increases.
Thank you, Patricia. Do I hear a motion?
David Kazansky, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kazansky. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Contract increases are passed.
Okay, next is the renewal of investment agency agreements.
No, that's exactly.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
The calendar.
All right, so next is the calendar. And first item on the calendar is the approval of the following minutes. October 7th, 2021 investment meeting minutes, October 25th, 2021 board meeting minutes. So that's the minutes that are appended.
Do I hear a motion to approve the investment and board meeting minutes?
Tom Brown, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I hear a second?
Susanna Vickers, second.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers. Any discussion about the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes pass.
Okay, next are the calendar items. You all should have received an electronic version of the calendar.
Please waive the reading of the calendar.
Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the calendar?
Tom Brown, so,
Russ,
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Was that Russ?
second, Russ.
Okay, Russ Buckley, second. Thank you. Any discussion about the calendar items? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Calendar passes.
Okay, next on the agenda is other business, and we have a presentation by Grant Thornton, our financial auditors. Are you here, Grant Thornton?
Yes, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sharon Campbell. I'm a managing director in Grant Thornton's Employee Benefit Plan Audit Practice, and I served as the lead on the 2021 audit of the teachers' retirement system of the City of New York. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you today the results of the 2021 audit, as well as our required communications to those charged with governance. I believe each of you have the slides in front of you, so I'm only going to highlight some of the slides. Before I begin, I would like to thank TRS Management for their coordinated efforts to assist us in the successful and timely completion of this year's audit. Overall, the audit went well, and we issued an unmodified clean opinion dated October 28th. With that, I'm going to share my screen. As soon as it tells me where. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen.
No.
Okay,
We do not see your screen.
you do not see my screen. Okay, let me double check why. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so with me today are my managers, Patsy Iacono and Will Richardson, as well as my specialist, my IT specialist, Kevin Morris, and my actuarial specialist, Phil Bonanno and Andy Zimick. Moving on to the next slide. So we approach our audits using a risk-based approach, and we start with identifying significant risks and other risks. To perform our procedures, we obtain an understanding of the financial reporting process and controls over journal entries and other adjustments, and the suitability of design and implementation of those controls. We make inquiries of individuals involved in the financial reporting process about inappropriate or unusual activity they may be aware of relating to the processing of journal entries and other adjustments. And we consider fraud risk indicators, the nature and complexity of certain accounts, as well as the entries processed outside of the normal course of plan operations. To perform our procedures, we use whole ledger analytics on all journal entries, both manual and automated, to pinpoint transactions that may appear to have a higher risk of management override based on a cumulative risk score. We then subject entries with high cumulative risk scores to further analysis, and we isolate a subset of those for testing. For entries tested and selected, we obtain an underlying support, evaluate the validity in the normal course of business, and we obtain evidence of approval. We did not identify any significant exceptions in this testing. Moving on to other areas of focus. Another area of focus is investment valuation. We confirm 100% of the investment positions. We evaluate the reasonableness of the fair value disclosures. On a sample basis, and with the assistance of our New York pricing group, we test the fair values of investments held at the end of the year, as well as purchases and sales made throughout the year to determine the reasonableness of the reported values. We also evaluate the reasonableness of investment expenses. There was one proposed adjustment related to investments that was identified as part of an annual reconciliation process to the fair value of the alternative investments, and this was related to a lag between the last reported valuation of the alternative investments and the fiscal year end. No other significant exceptions were noted. Another area of focus is contributions, member contributions. So we test the completeness of the population, and then on a sample basis, we test the eligibility to participate in the plan and contribute in the plan, as well as the accuracy of the contribution that's calculated and the amounts that are withheld to make sure they are in accordance with plan provisions. Okay. Our next area of focus is benefit payments. Again, we test the completeness of the population, and then we select the sample to test the eligibility to receive the benefit payment, as well as the accuracy of the benefit payment calculation in accordance with plan provisions. We then test the total pension liability by testing the completeness of the census data. And then with the assistance of our firm actuaries, we assess the reasonableness of the actuarial assumptions and methods used. And on a sample basis, we test the accuracy of the census data, selected demographic data within the census data that's driving the valuation. Other areas of focus include member loans, information technology general controls, and the adequacy of disclosures. Okay. Just to point out, cybersecurity continues to be a primary focus. Responsible plan fiduciaries have an obligation to ensure proper mitigation of cybersecurity risks. Periodic evaluation of design and effectiveness of information technology general controls could help mitigate these risks. On the topic of ITGCs, or information technology general controls, the following or the listed applications or systems were in scope. We did not test the operating effectiveness of ITGCs, but rather with the assistance of our firm IT specialists, we performed certain procedures to gain an understanding of the ITGCs, specifically in areas of security administration, which covers access change controls, program maintenance, which covers change management processes for in-scope applications, program execution, which covers schedule change and job exception resolution controls, as well as reviewing management's analysis of job processing exceptions, incidents, and any other anomalies. Technology operations, which includes but is not limited to physical access to data centers, disaster recovery and business continuity, backups and data redundancy, and help desk functions. And then finally, cybersecurity. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we issued an unmodified clean opinion. TRS early adopted GASB Statement 98, which basically establishes the term Annual Comprehensive Financial Report with an acronym ACFR, or short ACFR. There were no scope limitations. We had open and effective communication with management, and internal controls and best practice recommendations were discussed with management. We expect to issue the ACFR the third week of December this year, and we expect it will include the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for the 2020 ACFR. Okay. Other required communications. So we're not aware of any going concern matters. During our procedures, we did not identify any fraud or non-compliance with laws or regulations. There were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified in internal controls over financial reporting. We're not aware of the use of other auditors. We did not use internal audit. Related party and related party transactions are appropriately disclosed in Note 7 to the financial statements. We did not identify any significant unusual transactions. And I'm pleased to report we had no disagreements with management. There were no significant issues that were discussed with management or significant difficulties that were encountered during the audit. We're not aware of management's consultation with any other accountants as it relates to the audit procedures. And there were no other significant findings other than those discussed throughout the presentation that would be relevant to your oversight responsibilities. There were no modifications to the auditor's report. And again, the financial statements will be included in the ACFR that will be released in middle of third week of December. Okay, we're required also to communicate to you the quality of accounting practices. So TRS's significant accounting policies are detailed in Note 2 to the basic financial statements and are considered appropriate in all and consistent in all material respects. The largest accounting estimates, or the most significant accounting estimates for this audit, are the fair value of investments and the total pension liability, as well as the related disclosures. As it relates to disclosures, we have assessed that the financial statements and disclosures are clear and complete in all material respects, but notes disclosures to the financial statements appear to be informative, consistent, and clear. That concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Well, before I leave, I would like to you wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday season.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is just a status update on the actuary standards. I'm going to have Valerie do that for us.
Okay, this will be very brief. So I believe it was September, the board passed a resolution directing development of kind of actuary standards. And that required, and really what this would do was lay out schedules for reports, et cetera. It's not heavy duty actuarial stuff on, assumptions and methods. It's more how the actuary interacts with the board and the timing of this certain required report. So Sherry's office did submit to us a list and timing for reports over the coming years. We've incorporated that into some draft standards because this was such a full agenda. We didn't think there was really time to go over that at this meeting. We'll distribute it in a week or so. We had 1 or 2 questions that we wanted to follow up with Sherry's office on, and then we'll distribute draft standards to the board for its review. That's the update.
Thank you. So it's questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to the chair.
Okay, then it's time for executive session. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
Tom Brown, so moved.
Thank you.
Susanna Vickers, second.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we are in executive session. We are back. Susan Stang, would you like to report out, please? Susan there?
Take yourself off mute.
Certainly, yes. First, I have to get off mute, find the thing, and then get off mute. In executive session, we discussed and approved several investment contract matters. We also discussed and approved the divestment of certain emerging market securities.
Thank you, Ms. Stang. Anything else before we adjourn? Wishing you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time off.
Thank you.
And all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, first and second. Here we go. Anyone opposed to adjourning?
Is anyone ever?
Okay,
Your
we
potion
stand
is safe here.
adjourned.
We're going.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Bye, everybody.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving. Bye.